uses emoji.
Hello and welcome to Emoji Wrap, a podcast about all things emoji. I'm your host, Jeremy Burge, and I'm joined today by Myke Hurley. He's the co-founder of Relay FM, and he covers iOS, iPhones, and all kinds of tech-related topics across multiple shows. This week, iOS got its major emoji update, and we're going to be talking about that, as well as an inevitable look at Google's hamburger emoji news. There's a lot to cover, so let's get on with the show.
Lady, it's World Emoji Big Party.
So Myke, happy new emoji week to you.
Oh, happy new emoji week to you. This is a monumental week to be on your show. Like, to come on during a new emoji week, what an honor I have.
I am very pleased to have you here for this because, honestly, you have all year round where you get the whole thing where new emojis are approved early in the year, and then Android has them and Windows has them, and yeah, people sort of care, but people go wild this week. And I can't open up, you try and use the Emojipedia Twitter account on my Mac or on my iPhone, it just crashes at the moment. Just like too many people tweet and retweet and comment on things. People go nuts for Emoji Week. I don't even know how to get into that thing. We're just like scheduling tweets at the moment.
I feel like maybe you should advance your Twitter clients if this is a thing that is happening to you. Maybe you need to get some more professional features going on. Maybe TweetDeck or something.
Oh, I can't stand TweetDeck. I don't understand.
Well, you're managing a huge social media brand. You know, maybe you need to up your game a little bit, Burge.
So you are on the iOS 11.1 update. I'm guessing, being a man of Apple ecosystem.
I installed the beta on one of my devices, and then yesterday or whatever it was, I installed the final version.
Did you start sending out any new emojis to people you know don't have updated phones?
Yes, including my fiance.
Great.
I sent her a bunch of emoji this morning. She's like, I can't see those. I'm like, well, there you go. You know what to do.
That's you know what, I know it's not a trope, but it's sort of been talked about, and you've talked about this a bit on your podcast with Jason Snell, Upgrade, about emoji causing people to update their iPhones. But It's pretty true, right? Like, what happens is, and I think people don't even realize what they're doing, they get the new emojis and they go immediately to their best friend, or they tweet it and they'll say, oh my God, new emojis, and they'll put them all in there. And they'll send it to people assuming that person can see it, and then nobody can because nobody updated yet. And immediately that person wants to update. It's instant virality.
I feel like Apple should do some kind of detection that, like, when you get a non-supported emoji in your Messages app, you just press it and it takes you to the update tab of the system's preferences.
Oh, wow.
Right, so you're just like, there's no messing around here, right? Let's just immediately take you to the update. Need it.
Yeah, that is pretty smart. I genuinely, I feel like Apple only caught up in the last year and a half of how important it is to their users. I think before then they kind of knew, but they didn't seem to have any strategy. They just popped it in their update and then everybody else talked about it. But in the last year and a half, they will pre-announce a beta this year. Yep. I don't know whether you noticed this, that they announced the new emojis 3 or 4 days before the developer beta even came out. This is weeks before a public release. So they know
serious press releases, right? They do like serious press releases now of this stuff.
Yeah, and they don't release press releases about everything. But there's a whole bunch of features that get nothing, and yet here it is, not even announcing the public release, but just saying, hey, in 4 days, some developers are going to get new emojis and we're going to do a release. So yeah, I think that iMessage feature, that would be pretty killer, right? Just, as you say, put a little bubble under it to say, hey, we noticed someone's trying to send you a new emoji. You know how to get those. Click here. So we got the update that came out this week, and then what happened is that they all get their updates. They all started posting about them online. But then the other brands sort of, I don't know, they tried to jump in a little. You had Google and Microsoft kind of going, oh, but we had this weeks ago.
Yeah, it's a shame, really, isn't it? Like, even like you were calling it, like, it's new emoji week, even though, like, for a large portion of users, it's been this week for quite a while, right? But I guess it's just a case of where the mindshare is, and Apple seem to currently own most of the mindshare around emoji. Like, their emojis seem to lead the way for everybody else. You know, you've spoken about this a million times.
It's a pretty lonely week for everybody when you're on Android 8 and you're in the 0.02 of 1% of users on Android that have it. You get the new emoji, but literally nobody that you can send it to. So that's been a problem. Looking down, so for anyone that's tuning in for the first time this week, we've got a newsletter which is sort of the show notes, which is at emojibwrap.com, and you can follow down there. We've got a bunch of links talking about the emoji news of the month, and we're just going to have a bit of a look at those, see what we think about them. The first entry here we have is about Allo. Have you used Google Allo, the messaging app, Myke?
No, I never have, because when people seemed to originally care about it, so when it first came out and it came out on iOS, it wasn't available in the UK.
Right.
So I didn't download it and then stopped caring, because nobody that I know uses Allo. Like, even my friends that are on Android, we use some other application to talk, right? Like in Europe and in the UK, it tends to be WhatsApp.
Yep.
But there's Facebook Messenger and stuff like that. Like, it is surprising to me that there are people using Allo. Like, and I don't mean that in a mean way, but like, I just figure that most Android users were already using something else. But Google is being quite aggressive with adding interesting features, I guess, to try and convince people to move over from their service.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the features they have on there. They've embraced emoji as their platform a little. They're doing a lot of auto suggest, and they're doing all the stickers. They have a lot of stickers built in. They're trying to get everyone on board. But as you say, that if everybody has a messaging app already, I know I was just speaking to a friend who's all in on Android. He's all hardcore Android, and I'm saying, "Oh, are you on Allo?" He's like, "Oh, no, I don't really know anyone on there. I've got no purpose to using it." So while it does look good. Yeah, same. I've played with it. It seems fine, but I don't know why I'd be there rather than where everybody I know is. And incidentally, one of their key features has sort of come to iOS 11.1, which is more emoji auto-suggest. Have you noticed that in the latest iOS it suggests 3 rather than 1 or 2? And that's...
Yeah, so if you say you're happy, it gives you a bunch of different options as opposed to just one emoji, which I like. I tend to personally use Gboard. You know this about me. I use Gboard on iOS, and I find its suggestions to be superior to Apple's. It suggests in a slightly different way, and also Google seemed to use a more realistic to emoji usage keyword set.
Yeah.
So, like my favorite example, you can type the word "but" and it brings up a peach. Right? Like Google is aware.
Does that do that on the stock iOS keyboard? I haven't tried it. If I write a message now...
I bet that it doesn't.
I bet it doesn't.
Bet that it doesn't.
I'm going to let me try. Let me see what happens. I bet it does nothing, is my guess. What do you think?
The problem is, though, it would do nothing. It won't do anything. Right. My problem right now is I'm waiting for Gboard to update with the new emoji. So.
Yeah, Google aren't really known for their great jumping on board new iOS features, right? That's sort of... If they have a weak point on iOS, that would be one of them. Peach, but no, nothing comes up. I type but, I don't get anything. Type in a few other terms that I'm not going to say because I don't want to tag this episode of the podcast.
We've already gone too far.
No, we get nothing on any of those terms. And what a lot of people don't realize is that vendors kind of do their own layer on this. Yes, Unicode has all these tags and keywords on what each emoji means, but as far as I understand, every vendor does a lot of vetting to check that do they have a white list or a black list of terms, and how wide does it go. I don't think they want to accidentally... They don't want headlines, is the thing. They don't want people typing in but. Even but for a peach, I think is fun, but I don't know, maybe Apple doesn't want that to be a headline.
No, they try and keep things pretty chill.
Moving down our list, save the stiletto emoji. This was an article in Slate sort of trying to look at the issue of there's this new proposal for a woman's flat shoe emoji, which made the case that there's a high-heeled shoe for women and there's this boot, but there's nothing sort of equivalent to the man's shoe. It sort of argues, I guess, that is this too much? Do we need all the shoes? Can the stiletto just be a representation of women's shoes, or is that a problem? And I guess this is where it gets complicated with we're two dudes sitting here talking about it, and maybe we have opinions that are different than women who might look at it. But I don't know, is this something that you think about much, about whether one emoji is representative enough of the group, or do you think that what we've got is a decent selection?
Well, I think that this is and will always be a problem, because people look at themselves and the way that they're represented in a myriad of ways, right? Like, no human emojis represent enough people. Like, this is just a problem, like a skin color problem, facial feature problem. There are so many things that the current emoji set don't represent, and it's the same here, right? Like, lots of women do not wear high-heeled shoes, right? That's
right. Yeah, sure, plenty. Maybe fact. The majority.
And so it makes sense to have a flat shoe, right? I can see that, but like, where does it stop though? I mean, this is the problem with all of this stuff, right? Like, we could end up with like 1 million emoji in 5 years' time because there are many types of shoes. What if like you want, oh well, I like to wear loafers and I like to wear brogues, and you know, and you could just go on forever, right? I think that's the problem.
Yeah, and
it's tricky. It's tricky.
It is tricky, and there's obviously it's not done in isolation. We do live in the real world, and some of these characters they have weight that we're talking about. Gender equality in the workplace and issues that people care about. Unicode doesn't care about that, but it does make it makes it difficult to discuss, because it might sound like if you said the flat shoe isn't a good idea as an emoji, it might seem like you're trying to oppress women, or you know that you're taking a different stand than just the emoji. And I think that's what can be tricky about these conversations, and Twitter and things in general when talking about them I'm always very cautious about. I'm all for more representation in general, but I'm careful to try and put a stake in the ground too hard to say I care so much about this, because it can seem like, you know, there's other issues going on in the world. Mm-hmm. Speaking of representation, this is one that's an interesting topic. That there's another article here about the gender neutral emojis in iOS. There's a child, there's an adult, and an older adult, and the child is meant to be somewhere between the boy and the girl, and the adult is meant to be somewhere between the man and the woman. And you know what's interesting? I found that it sort of comes down to the phrasing, that when you promote these as, oh, there's a person with shorter hair, people tend to be all about it. They'll go, oh, great, I have sort of short hair. I'm a woman with sort of short hair, or I'm a guy with slightly longer hair. But then once they're classified as gender neutral, then it sort of takes this political weight. And I accidentally found myself on some kind of right-wing radio show in the last week or two that I've only been in the UK 4 or so years, as you know, and I don't really know what all I don't listen to the radio, basically, and I sort of get called in for press things. And yeah, they sort of had a big, I say, bee in their bonnet about this. They didn't really care about any other emoji, but there's 3 new characters, and they're sort of saying, is this Apple pushing an agenda? Who really needs this gender neutrality? And it was interesting, so I hadn't had a bunch of pushback about that elsewhere, because most people, until it was framed that way, most people just went, oh, there's 3 other people on the keyboard, big deal. I was wondering if you'd have you heard much about, have you had many people sort of even mention that these exist? To me, they kind of blend in on the keyboard with a bunch of other yellow people.
I think I have, honestly, like, I don't think would have noticed, right? I wouldn't have looked at the emoji and been like, they're gender neutral. They just look like people that have short hair, and they are designed in such a way that they can be interpreted however you want, which is great. Like, this is the type of representation that should occur, right? Like, trying to make sure that you're filling in gaps, like large gaps. And I think that this one works really well, you know, and also I think this is more important than shoes. But yeah, it frustrates me when people get mad about it, right? Because I'm kind of just like, well, it's fine though, because you just don't have to use it, right? Like, do you also associate yourself with a garbage can? Like, what?
Right.
You know, there are lots and lots of emoji in the keyboard. It's not trying to say that you are one thing or another thing, but there are people that this is important to. You know, it's like I find that the representation things that are the most important are the ones where it comes into like actual human representation, like how humans are represented in the emoji keyboard. I think that's more important than like how many items of clothing or how many pieces of food we have. And I applaud companies that are trying to find ways to do a better job with this. You know, like the hijab emoji and the breastfeeding emoji, like those ones were great additions. And I think the gender neutral one works really well too, especially because it's kind of just very simple faces that anyone could use, honestly.
Right, yeah, and I guess that's the difference, is that Unicode would say, yes, that was why they were created, to be this sort of non-binary or middle ground, but really, it's fine. If you're a dude that happens to look a bit like the woman emoji, use the woman. They're not saying you have to identify in this way. They don't have explicit gender identities. It's saying if you if you look like this emoji, use that emoji, or if you just like the look of that emoji. So I think it's fine. I'm actually pretty impressed. I feel like companies are still a bit shy around going into this direction, so I'm kind of impressed that they decided to just go with it. And yeah, I don't know. I think they've been quite popular, and definitely people who don't strongly identify one direction or the other, I think they're in particular happy there's at least something on the keyboard that they could use that, you know, helps them out. Moving along, emojis of hashtag #MeToo, which is an interesting Twitter topic that's come up, obviously, around sexual harassment, this sort of thing, that Hamdan Azhar, he does Twitter analysis. And if you look down this article, what he does is he pulls out all the tweets that use hashtag #MeToo and talks about which emojis are used. And it's basically sentiment analysis using emojis, which I think I'm surprised there's not more of this going on. That if anything, it's not about this particular topic necessarily, but for any topic, it's possibly the most useful form of sentiment analysis we have. That if you look back through any tweets or any public statements that you can find that if people use an emoji with it, you can tell what they mean about it. And I'm sort of be interested to see maybe Twitter promote more of this. Or like, could you see a timeline of who's happy on Twitter and who's sad on which days, or would it be just a bit depressing?
Let me play devil's advocate a little bit on this.
Yeah.
Isn't one problem with emoji the fact that you actually can't discern what people are trying to say by the usage of the character? Like, because it's also, like, it's kind of fluid, you know? Like, how people use emoji. Like, they use a character, but it can kind of mean a couple of different things.
Right.
And I know you can kind of glean from it what you would expect people to mean, but I guess it could be pretty tricky in some cases, right? Because the emoji are used so differently. Right, like in
what I mean? Yeah, in this instance, a heart is used, but it might be sort of a heartbreak or some kind of, I feel for you, you know, this is a sad situation and here's a heart, whereas others might be, I freaking love the new iPhone, hearts everywhere. Yeah.
Or it's like, so looking at this top 20 list, right, so there's a list on this page. Number 12 is folded hands, right?
Yeah.
Now that emoji, like, what do people mean when they're showing that, you know? Oh, like the same thing, like number 6 is backhand index pointing down. So it's an index finger pointing down. Now, I know what people mean by that, right, from context, as people probably tweeting and being like, look at this tweet, right?
Yes.
But you have to know that context to know what that means, because if you just see this list, it's like, why would people be tweeting a downward pointing finger? But yeah, this specific case is really interesting because the hearts, there are more hearts than anything else, which is really interesting considering how upsetting this topic is.
Right.
You know, like it's people sharing stories of sexual harassment.
Right.
Using hearts is a really interesting thing to do here, right? Like it shows kind of the mood that people are in, that they're sharing love and affection for each other during a difficult time, which is very interesting because you'd maybe expect more angry emoji, right?
Right. Yeah.
Because of the terrible things that happen. So it is a very interesting thing to look at. But of course, with anything like this, it comes with some like questions as to how the interpretation is made.
Maybe they could appear when I don't really use the trending page unless I'm accidentally on there on Twitter, but that would be kind of fun if they can in real time show the 10 emojis most associated with one
trending
topic.
Emoji.
Yeah, that'd be good. We track trending emojis on Emojipedia.
Of course you do.
But they're tracking what comes into Emojipedia, which isn't always directly related to Twitter, but it's normally a pretty good sense. But it can be interesting when there's major world events. I know on the election night in the US last year, we were tracking it pretty closely, and it was going from people sort of shocked faces, or like at the start of the night there was a lot of sort of happy and party faces, and then it sort of turned into green nauseated faces, and then the gun started coming out, and it was quite a wild ride in which emojis trended at which times as results were announced. It was quite interesting to watch the numbers go up and down. Okay, moving down our list, we are getting to this New York Times article. The New York Times love to do a Unicode emoji dive every now and then. And this, I think it's a pretty good article. It's a bit difficult to go into in depth on a podcast. I suggest people have a look at it. It's sort of looking at the idea that Unicode exists as this body that's been around for a long time, and the story's been told about, you know, how they're responsible for all the text in the world, and how at least there's some comments in here from people involved in Unicode sort of saying it is a bit of a distraction for them, that it's hard to fit in the time to do everything that Unicode needs to do at the same time as emoji. But I wonder in the rest of the world, the attention that Unicode has got because of emoji and particularly support for better Unicode standards, I'd have to say that overall it's been a pretty big win, regardless of, yes, there's some complications fitting everything in and the time required, but I know a few years ago when I started Emojipedia, it was based on WordPress, and at the time I didn't realize WordPress did not support emojis. So I started building the site, and it was just a basic sort of site, and I didn't put the emojis in there yet.
Why would you? I mean, it's an emoji website. Why wouldn't you start with the emoji?
I don't know. I just sort of assumed I'd been playing with some... At the time, I was doing a bit more development and sort of just some raw HTML that included it, and it was fine, and it worked fine on websites. And then suddenly I started to put the emojis in the site, and the database was blowing up, and rows were being deleted. I inserted an emoji, and every row would get deleted after it.
That seems fine.
So, I guess my takeaway from this particular article would be that regardless of any complications of Unicode having to manage the complexities of emoji, the fact that users care about it means that far more platforms will support standard Unicode characters because users said, hey, platform, why aren't you supporting emojis? Is how they come around to it. Have you noticed people sort of yelling at platforms for their lack of emoji support?
I do it about Slack.
Yeah, yes, I did see a tweet about complaining Slack wasn't on board. So what's the issue with Slack? What's going on there?
Slack are currently 2 revisions behind on their emoji updates. So they didn't... What was the one that was released last year? What was that categorized as? Was it 9?
Yeah, it was Unicode 9, and this year was Unicode 10.
So what were some of the highlights of 9? Just to give some context.
Right, I'm going to pull up the list, but the one I remember, my favorite one was the clown. I enjoyed the clown very much.
Yep.
The face
the
palm.
Cowboy.
Yep, cowboy.
Yeah. So Slack doesn't officially support these in a lot of its tools. So they have like their emoji reactions where you can add emoji from their emoji picker, and also their own emoji picker. So they have one in all of their apps. It doesn't support 9, and 10 has just been released. And I find this really peculiar for Slack because they build a lot of their brand around their use of emoji.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So like in all of their tweets, in all of their communication, it's all emoji based, and they also build in specific features like their own emoji picker, which they don't need to have, right? You don't need to put an emoji picker in their app. They also let you choose between emoji on platforms, and they also have their emoji reactions. It's just very peculiar to me, and I was tweeting about this today because a friend of mine was complaining too, and Slack's response was that they prioritize things above this. And I understand that, right? Like, you got to have your priorities, but in the last year, they haven't found the ability to add this in is very surprising to me. Just because of how much they focus on emoji. Like, if this is Microsoft Word or Google Docs, I don't care, right?
Oh, I care in Google Docs.
Whatever.
I write my emoji docs in Google Docs.
So let me say, I do kind of care, but like I'm not going to get mad at them because it's not like they're so emoji focused. They haven't got like special emoji features, but Slack does. And I find that really peculiar that they haven't updated their emoji set. They're 2 revisions behind now. I mean, what are they? Are they in a couple of weeks? Are they going to start supporting 9? Like, what's going to happen?
I have 2 theories on this. So interestingly, I don't think we'll get to it today, but recently WhatsApp replaced their Apple emoji set on Android. They'd been using the Apple emojis on Android, and they replaced it with their own set, which looks a lot like Apple's, but it's not Apple's anymore. It's actually a bit further down the email. If you want to have a look, we can jump down there. I don't think we'll get to the news, but it says WhatsApp releases its own emoji set.
Yeah,
and
this is fascinating.
Have you seen these? What this character set looks like? And so it's clearly been done. It's clearly been WhatsApp saying, we want, for whatever reason, I'm not sure, maybe there's a legal issue there. Maybe Apple's said, hey, can you stop using our emoji set on Android, please? Or WhatsApp just felt like they wanted to go their own way. But they're definitely designed to say, we want them to be very recognizable as close to Apple's. And they're some of them are actually pretty cute. They've made improvements.
I think
in
they're
some
great.
Of them. Yeah, there's a lot
like
of...
their nerd emoji. Nerd emoji is my favorite emoji. And their representation of the nerd emoji is better than Apple's, in my opinion.
Yeah. I mean, they had a good starting point. It's much easier to start with someone else's set and just say, how can we improve every one of them? Or redo these, and if we can tweak it a little, how do we make it better? That's a great starting point to have, right?
Yeah, so you think that Slack are working on something like this?
Well, I wonder. So what they do is they also include Apple's emoji set in all their platforms. It shows up on Windows. It shows up on Android, because you do have the picker. But I feel like they got themselves in a bit deep. 3 years ago, emoji was much simpler. It wasn't getting as updated as frequently. And I either wonder whether they just thought, oh, we'll just bake this in and we'll make it overly complex, having all these different platforms and shortcodes and everything, and they just made it too hard. And or they want to create their own set, maybe, and get away from the whole issue of having to use Apple's at all. I just wonder if they're going to go that direction.
I would be interested to see if they did do that again, because like the communication so emoji based, it wouldn't match up, right? Unless they start embedding the images. So I would be, it's keen. I'm keen to see what they end up doing.
Yeah, and maybe it's just a logistics thing that these shortcodes aren't actually standard. People think the shortcode where you type the colon and the words, that is some kind of standard. It's sort of a de facto standard that came from GitHub and people sort of share them, but Unicode don't publish that name. And I also wonder if they're finding some of the new sequences a bit unwieldy. How do you type in, woman vampire with black skin tone and the sort of family unit with 4 people, that they get very long, unwieldy names. And I wonder if they're thinking of reverting to native maybe and just ditching the whole custom thing altogether. Maybe they're having an internal tussle there.
Yeah, that actually makes a lot of sense. I can see how that maybe they're struggling with the way that you type them in. Because if you don't know, there are shortcodes in Slack where you can type colon and start typing, and it will bring up a bunch of suggestions for the emoji, and you can actually just type them in as opposed to, and then when you press enter, it renders as the real emoji in the chat view, and it would get very difficult for them to start adding a lot of that stuff. So yeah, I see that, but I still think it's kind of ridiculous that it's taken them over a year and they haven't done anything.
Yeah, I have contacted Slack and they have no comment.
Oh, no comment.
Yeah,
no comment's pretty interesting though.
Yeah, I mean, what do they normally say? We have nothing to add at this time, I think is the press friendly way of saying no comment. It sounds nicer. It means the same thing, but it sounds nicer. I want to jump ahead real brief. Yes or no animated emoji? Would you like, not Animoji, but would you like your regular emojis to be animated like they do in Japan? Would you like that?
Yeah, I would like that. Should they animate on the keyboard or just when you pop them into your message? So this is interesting, right? Because I don't know if I want to look at an entire keyboard picker of moving emoji. I think I might have a seizure or something, right? Like if that was happening. But you need to have some kind of idea of what it's going to look like when you drop it into the chat. Okay, for logistical reasons, I've now changed my mind. Because I like animated iMessage stickers a lot.
Yeah,
right?
You are,
and they animate in the. I love stickers. Stickers and emoji, they go hand in hand for me, right? They really do. Like I consider them. I know that it's a problem, and I know you must see this all the time, that people call stickers emoji, and I don't do that.
Yeah, you're very clear.
I think that there is a very clear distinction, but the usage of them is what I think of, right? Like I think of them in the same way as like a way to express myself without using words, or a way to express myself better than I can with words, and I use them both. I use them every single day. Like I'm a big user of all of them, which is why I'm so excited for Animoji on the iPhone 10, because I'll be able to make my own emoji and use them as stickers. Very excited about that, Jeremy. I'm gonna lose all of my friends, but it's gonna be worth it. But yeah, so the idea of seeing all those animated emoji, like there's in the news article that you linked to, there's a screenshot of like a bunch of them in a picker, and it's too much. So I've now changed my mind, because as much as I would love to see animated emojis, because I really like the animated versions of iMessage stickers, there's too small and there's too many, and it would be too unwieldy every time you want to go choose one, I think.
I wonder if a middle ground would just be if Apple made every emoji a sticker version.
This is something I can't get my head around. I don't know why they haven't done this. Like, it's very surprising to me that Apple have not released an emoji sticker pack, or found a way to make their emoji keyboard act as a sticker pack when in iMessage. Because, I mean, I have a bunch of third-party apps that either have found a way to rip off a bunch of them, or they're representing them in a slightly different way. But because I like using the emoji as stickers. And again, like, I'm going to have the option to use a unicorn with making my own facial expressions in a couple of days.
Love that unicorn. Yep.
The unicorn I think is the one I've chosen, by the way, at the Emoji.
You are the unicorn.
I'm going to go unicorn. Yeah, I feel like that's the one that probably best represents me as a human. So I'm going to go with unicorn, I think.
Yeah, I think the unicorn has a lot of flexibility too. I think the poo is fun, but I don't know.
Not for me.
Yeah.
Do you know what, Jeremy? I don't like the poop emojis. I don't like them.
Not for you.
No, I don't know why people I don't know why it has a face on it, right? Like I don't get it, and I'm annoyed that they're adding more of them. We don't need more poop emojis. This is the stand that I'm going to take on your show. We just don't need more poop emojis. It's frustrating and upsetting for me. And now people are going to be sending me animated poop.
Yep.
I don't want this.
Yep.
I just don't want it.
And it's in the I've got to say though, I don't mind the poo, and it's on the draft list for next year is the frowning poo. It's sort of it's in stasis right now. It might not make the list, but I got persuaded.
Within 2 years, we're going to have an entire keyboard full of poop emoji, right? Like, why will it just stop at frowning face? Why not surprised poop and sad poop and crying poop?
I have seen people mock up an emoji keyboard with all the faces, and that is a bit too much. That's too much. But I can deal with two. I could deal with a happy poo and a sad poo.
But why would you stop at 2? Why not 20, right?
Okay.
If you're going to go past 1, it's an unlimited number. Not good. You need to take a stand for me, Jeremy.
No, I will not, but I look forward to your feedback in the Unicode emoji committee. There has been already some negative feedback about the frowning poo, so it's in a little bit of limbo right now. We'll see what happens.
Because you know what? I think the poop emoji wouldn't exist if it hadn't have already existed. And this is something that me and you speak about a lot, kind of like some of the emoji that we have because they existed pre-emoji explosion.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, like, a lot of the characters that are very specific to Japan that are still in emoji keyboards everywhere around the world and are still supported. And there are some, like the gun. I don't think that the gun would exist if emoji was being created today, like, with all of the context that we have around it. And I don't think that the poop would have been one of them either. I don't, and I think the poop only continues to get more focus on it because it's so popular with people. But I cannot imagine a world in which all of the vendors would have been like, yeah, okay, we'll have a smiling poop face.
No, and you're right. There is actually some history to this, that Google nearly wanted to bump the poo before it even made it into Unicode. That there's an article, I'll link it. It's not in this particular list right now, but I'll put it in the show notes. It's on Fast Company, and it looked at how when Google was trying to release Gmail in Japan, they were some of the first people to look at getting emoji into Unicode, and the Western engineers were like, what's this poo? We don't want the poo in there. Like, just drop that out. And Japan was like, no. Emoji is the whole set. You get the poo included, or don't even bother. What are you even doing?
What is the context for it?
It's just, you know what, there's a lot of myths. As far as I understand, speaking to people in Japan about this, there's a lot of myths that it's like the lucky poo, or it's got some, Japan, they're so mystical and they have this poo that they, but it's none of that. They just think it's funny. There's this cartoon character that it was sort of based off that people found was funny, but as far as I understand, it was just, poo, it's a bit funny. Let's chuck it on the keyboard. That's the most I get. I think people outside Japan have tried to give it a lot more weight than it really even had in the first place. Okay, final article we have down this list. Google CEO just promised to drop everything to fix its cheeseburger emoji. When did you...
I think of everything that is on this list, this is the one I was hoping we wouldn't be talking about.
How did this enter your circle? Were you aware of this before we talked about it right now?
Yes.
And how did you first become aware that this was a so-called issue?
You.
What did I do? I don't even recall.
You're just tweeting about it, right? Like, you're doing what you do. I follow at Emojipedia as well. I follow you. And, of course, any big emoji news, it's going to, Jeremy's going to talk about it because this is what Jeremy does. I don't know why this is a thing. I think that I've kind of gotten a little bit frustrated with the meme of the last few weeks, which is all predicated on the wonderful images over at Emojipedia.com that you put up, the big high-res images comparing platforms where people were like, here is my really smart opinion, which is comparing the way that emoji look across platforms and saying why everybody's wrong because I drink whiskey in the correct way.
It has been a building meme over the last year. I feel like it leapt from Tumblr to mainstream.
Yeah. And the reason it annoys me is because people only do this with the hope of getting viral.
Right. And it is fun, but people feel... because everyone can have an opinion about burgers and everyone likes their phones, and Google's a big company, so you stitch all those things together and boom, everyone loves it.
And the reason you're to blame is because people can't really see this clearly enough on their devices.
True.
But when they go to the Emojipedia.com and they see the wonderful images that you have, they're able to pick them apart. But anyway,
I do feel a bit to blame for vendors packing so much detail into their emojis that I do feel a little bit like the default size on Emojipedia might have something to do with it, that they do feel somewhat obliged to make it look good at that size. Maybe that's overstating it, but I do wonder if there is something going on there, and if so, I apologize, everybody.
There isn't anywhere else really that you can see them this large.
Yeah.
You are responsible for this, but anyway.
You know what's fun? So this, it is my job, and I cover it like it's serious news. I know it's not serious. I know there's more things going on in the world, but we've all got our part of the world.
No, we need these things though, right? People need these things. Like, this is, we live in troubling times for a lot of people. Not for everyone, but for a lot of people. And discussing cheeseburger emojis, like, this is the thing that a lot of people need. And this is just one that, basically, this news was breaking and getting bigger and bigger and bigger at a time where I was busy with something. I think it's all iPhone related in my life right now. And there was just a lot of stuff happening. I was really busy, and all this. By the time that I got to it, Sundar Pichai was already tweeting about it. So at that point, I was like, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Why is he getting involved in this? And then also, I also got to it when all the brands had jumped on board. So my first interaction with this little storm was brands and Sundar Pichai, and at that point, it had already gone too far.
Yeah, I think he didn't know what he was getting himself into. I always see these bubbles because people tag me or Emojipedia when there's an emoji thing going on, and some of it's interesting, some of it's happened before, so I might not necessarily give it much due. But once Sundar Pichai, if anyone listening hasn't seen it, that he tweeted to say that Google was going to fix their hamburger emoji because someone tweeted that the cheese was under the burger and that was no good. But if you're the CEO of Google and you make a statement like that, it becomes newsworthy, because how often do CEOs say, we're going to drop everything and fix this Monday, even as a joke? It was clearly sort of pitched as a joke, but CEOs don't say, we're going to drop everything and fix this Monday. So, sorry, Sundar, you tried to have a joke, but when you're the CEO, you sadly can't have jokes, because next thing you know, I'm contacting Microsoft and Apple for comment on how they do their burger emoji, and, that's just how the news cycle goes. Microsoft said they thought it was odd. They said it was odd, yeah.
Let alone the fact that this is a hamburger emoji, and they all have cheese on them,
yes,
right?
Yes.
I think it should have cheese on it, because I think that cheeseburgers are more popular than hamburgers. But it's like, you're already wrong at that point, right? I mean, or not wrong, but this is the problem with the representation, right? Because what is is on Emojipedia, the little text that you have at the top, is that brought from Unicode? Because you say a burger with 2 buns containing a meat patty, cheese, sometimes lettuce or tomato. Where does that description come from?
So that is directly from my hand. So the official name comes from Unicode. They call it hamburger, but I'm much more... No, we're just describing what it actually looks like, not the theoretical idea of it.
And you go with the most frequently used representation?
Yeah, if I look down the list and I go, look, every one of them except for one has cheese, the description will say this is a burger or a cheeseburger, and it generally has cheese, because that's what it is as far as people care. People don't care about the standards. We'll mention this is the official name, but no one cares what it's meant to be if it doesn't look like that. I don't think anyway.
But this is just one of those things that got out of hand and is unfixable as a thing, right? Because there isn't a correct way to make a cheeseburger, right? It's not official. It's not like, oh, you have to make it this way for it to be a cheeseburger. Mm-hmm. So there is no way for them to fix this and make people happy, which is don't enter into this fight, Sundar. You will only lose.
Well, I haven't.
There is only misery for you here.
I think he's learned. I don't expect to ever see him tweet about it again.
Nope.
Other than maybe to say they fixed this one. Maybe he'll cap that off sometime. Maybe.
That's a shame, because I like Sundar, right? And I know why he did this, because this is kind of his way. He makes little quips. He's a funny guy, right? He's a great presenter. So I can see in his mind, this was just a really funny joke for him.
Yep.
But it opened up a poop storm, a smiling, frowning poop emoji storm. Because it's like the other thing of like, Sundar, are there not more important things for you to be doing? Right? Like, shouldn't Google be fixing X, Y, Z as opposed to, you know what I mean? Like, this is the problem that you open yourself up to by being like, this is the most important thing for us to fix now. So, I don't know, like, aren't you currently all be in some kind of lawsuit about the way that, you know, it's like, it's all like, what about fake news? And what are you going to do about that? Like,
yeah.
I
have no doubt someone internally was going, can we, what are you doing? I know you thought this was
the PR
funny,
team
but it's
exploded,
yeah,
right? Like,
surely.
all of their heads turned into the mind explosion emoji.
Yeah.
Because their boss started going wild on Twitter.
Unintentionally thought it'd be a funny joke, and next thing you know,
Yeah.
it's a big
You know what?
deal.
It is a funny joke. It is funny, but like, you can't do it, Sundar. Well, he won't anymore.
No.
is my expectation.
Sadly.
But so what do you think is right? What is right, Jeremy? I want on record from you. How should the cheeseburger be made?
I've been pulled both directions because I was just in the US where In-N-Out in the West Coast is very big, and they do it differently than all the burger emojis. So I'm gonna go with their one because it was delicious, and they put the salad on the bottom, both the lettuce and the tomato under the burger. The cheese obviously has to be on the burger though, because that's how it melts. So I'm gonna go with the In-N-Out model, which nobody uses. So I expect all vendors to get on board with this update.
What is the official Emojipedia representation?
Oh, you know what?
Don't you have those?
Well, we do, but we only do it for the new ones. Because this has been around since forevermore. Every year we design the new set, but we don't have the back catalogue. So
I don't know. I think there's a conspiracy theory here.
What's that?
I bet you had one and then you removed it, right? Because you didn't want people to see what Emojipedia says is a cheeseburger. That's what I think's going on
all
here.
the scrutiny. Myke, thank you for joining me. This has been good fun. I know we got
Pleasure.
deeper on the burger emoji than you really wanted to go, but I think it's
I knew it was coming, though.
Yeah.
I knew this is the biggest emoji news of the month.
It is. So for people that want to follow you on the web, you're in the Apple tech sphere. Is that fair to say that if you care about iPhones, iOS, Apple, that
Yeah.
you have words and thoughts to say about this?
Yep.
And where should people?
In
where's the
many
best place?
places.
Where's the best place for people to find you?
Go to relay.fm. That is a podcast network that I run, and we have lots and lots of shows. If you're listening to a podcast about emoji, you are probably relatively technology minded. So we're going to have something there that you're going to enjoy. So go to relay.fm. We have a whole host of programming that you can go and peruse and enjoy at your leisure.
And I'd have to say, as a listener of Upgrade and Connected, they both sort of focus on... They're not entirely about iOS or iPhones, but they will touch on it quite a lot. So maybe if people are into learning more about what's going on in iOS, then those are two good shows to add to your subscription list. And as for me, you can follow me on Twitter at Jeremy Burge. You can follow the show at Emoji Wrap. And if you subscribe to the email there, you will get what we're going to talk about a day before we do. So do that. And I've got to say a big thank you to Joshua Jones, who does our show artwork, and to Jonathan Mann, also known as Song a Day Man, who sings our theme tune. So iOS users, enjoy your new emojis, and I'll speak to you next time.